Oh, guess what? We're recording.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Again, welcome back to the Peasant Party Podcast. I'm your host, Charlotte Warren. And to my right, introduce yourself again.
I'm Annabelle, and I'm the co-host. And we haven't done this in like a little bit.
It's been a hot minute.
I know. I miss it so much.
I'm glad you're back. How have you been?
Oh, bitch. It's been a wild... What? God, when was the last time we did this? I feel like it was like a month ago.
Almost a month ago.
Crazy.
Early October.
Crazy. I'm on a wild ride right now.
Are you really?
Yeah, just as far as like dating and everything and like the things that I'm kind of going through, like personal transformations and stuff like that. How are you?
Pretty good. Pretty good.
Acting like we didn't fully hang out last night.
Oh yeah, we went to see Shane Gillis at the Comedy Mothership.
Oh, we saw Shane Gillis.
Fantastic show.
So
fantastic show.
funny.
We fist bumped Ron White.
Fist bumped Ron White. He was on the road.
Fantastic.
Oh, so cool.
Yeah, he was like, he's talking about his girlfriend. He's like, she's probably like 4'11" and all this stuff.
Yeah.
And then like we see him walking down the street with a woman who's like 4'11.
4'11,
gorgeous
allegedly
woman.
68 years
Looks
old.
lots
Stunning.
Smoke show.
Smoke
I would
show,
expect
absolutely.
nothing less from Ron White.
Crazy.
Love Ron White. Yeah, it was a great time. And then now we're here. And I'm glad we are.
Yay.
Woo. So you're back dating, personal transformation.
Yes. Yeah. Well, okay. So I hope that I can feel validated in this. I feel like my like breakup from this last relationship, we were officially together for like 7 months. Not even that long. And the breakup has just been this like long, drawn out, fucked up process where we kind of like, he'll text me randomly and I'll be like, and then I'll text him and then we block each other. And it's just been like so emotionally tumultuous. And I feel so silly for still like going through it, you know, and still having those feelings and still feeling like anger, resentment, whatever. But I'm hoping that other people experience this too. And I have talked to a lot of like girlfriends lately, people who are married, long-term relationships, etc. And a lot of them have been like, yeah, I was in that boat where I was with someone who was really like verbally and emotionally just absolutely horrible to me, but I was married to them for 10 years. And it took a lot of work to get out of it. And so as much pain as it's been, I'm so grateful, number one, that like it was so short-lived. And I'm not trapped in anything financially. I'm not trapped in anything with a child, you know, there's no like divorce that has to happen. And I'm also so grateful and so lucky to have like the women around me that I do that are like, I mean, Bailey, who's my best friend, she's been on the show before, like basically the other night, like shook me by the shoulders. Like, get it together. And it like knocked some sense into me, really. It really did. Oh, and of course, Paco, who's been like an immense support. That's my boss and my other best friend. So
nice. And
yeah.
I feel like you've got a good support system here. I think the best thing anyone can do in the form of like, you know, when they've gotten out of a relationship, they're trying to heal is like lean into friendships more than anything.
Yes.
Like,
yes, definitely.
Not like, oh, like I got to get back out there dating. It's like
Totally.
lean into the friendships. And I feel like the rest kind of like comes from you know, spending time with friends, like you know, doing fun stuff in the form of like going to shows or going to events together, like, you know, hosting like game night, like that kind of stuff. For
sure. And I'm really starting to like enjoy that. And like, that is my escape from loneliness. Like, I think I've very much always operated under this, I don't know, like male validation for some reason, just like had a chokehold on me, you know? And like, I'm so sick of that feeling because once it's gone, I'm like panic and like I need to sleep with a bunch of dudes, or I need to go on dates, or I need to find someone new to replace this love because I am so terrified and I cannot stand the feeling of being like lonely or alone. And the other night, when Bailey and I were hanging out, we did some shrooms, and and that actually really helped because I had such a breakthrough where I was just like, oh my God, this like love that I'm craving, it doesn't even really exist. Like I'm chasing a ghost. Like it's not there.
Yeah. And I think there's also, there's the love and friendships and stuff. And I think like loneliness, it doesn't just come from like romantic relationships. I think like leaning into family, leaning into friends. Yeah. And then leaning into the city. I feel like you're getting a really experienced Austin in a way that maybe you weren't when you were.
I know. It's so true. And I'm so excited.
I feel like you're doing like more Texas-y, Austin-y stuff. Like you got your cowboy boots on.
Got my boots. Going out. Yeah.
Have you been to any good restaurants lately, either on a date or otherwise?
Yeah. I mean, my favorite restaurant in Austin is Suerte.
It's a great restaurant.
It's a great restaurant. I go there as often as I can. So
nice.
But not on I haven't been on like a dinner date in a really long time, actually.
Nice.
Well, I get uncomfortable with them. I don't know. I get really. I don't like. Honestly, like on a first date or even just on like a second, third date, I don't like eating in front of a man.
So there is something really intimate.
There's something weird about that, right? Oh,
and like, God, I feel like you're locked in more. Like a drink is easier to like walk away from. I was always a drinks date person. Have you heard the viral story about the woman who ordered 48 oysters on a first date? I think you've seen that. I think I sent you the TikTok.
Yes. Please.
All right, I'm gonna do a quick recap of the story.
Okay, please.
For anyone who hasn't listened, there is a viral story going around that people have said we need to get your take on this. So we're giving our take. So basically the backstory of it, this was a TikTok, Atlanta woman, I think her name's Iquana, I don't know. She made a TikTok sharing her experience from a first date. She'd been apparently ignoring this guy for a while. She said, this guy's been bugging me. And finally I agreed to go on a date with him. And he said, I would like to take you out to drinks. She said she suggested the restaurant. I don't know if he he said you pick, but she chose a place called Fontaine's Oyster House in Atlanta, which offers $15 for a dozen of oysters on Tuesdays. It's a special. She was aware of this, it seems. And just to note, like, this does seem like a place that you could go to for drinks only. Like, if she said, Fontaine's Oyster House for drinks, I don't think that would be weird. While there, she proceeded to order 48, aka 4 dozen oysters. It also appears that she had at least one drink and some potatoes, and at one point she starts wondering what's next. It looks like the guy had ordered just one drink. At one point, he gets up and says he has to go to the bathroom and does not come back, leaving his one unfinished drink. She realizes he's not coming back and sends him a text saying, wow, running out on a tab is crazy. And he replied with, hey, I offered to take you out for drinks and you ordered all that food. I can cash up you the total for the drinks. The rest is kind of unclear. Of course, that is going around viral on TikTok. People are, stitching it like, oh my God, women are just after the money, the food. I hate this fucking term. Apparently there's a term called foodie calls where it's like women going on dates just to like get for the food.
Which again is crazy because you're meeting someone and then just eating a large meal in front of them. It's
very awkward. I just hate the term foodie call because it sounds kitschy and stupid.
Yeah, I know you hate those things. Yeah.
Booty calls. If you ever say the word
instead
call,
of a booty call, it's a foodie call.
Yeah, it's so dumb. Like shove a boot in your face if you ever use the phrase foodie call.
Okay, yes.
And I said just because words are dumb.
Sure.
But yeah. So like, of course, it's inspiring all of those conversations and. Yeah, I mean, everyone wants to know our thoughts on it. Do you have initial thoughts now that I've shared that with you?
Oh my God, dude. This bitch is batshit insane. If
you've
ever seen this video, she is honestly such a fucking icon. I love her so much because it's the craziest shit I've ever seen. And
just to know, Annabelle says this about all crazy.
I
endorse it.
I love a
she
crazy
likes the entertainment.
Bitch. I cannot lie. I love someone doing something completely unhinged, like especially on a date. Oh my God, so funny. So in the video, she's they go and she's filming the whole thing for her TikTok and it's voiced over. So she had planned to like do this from the beginning. And then she's got like the flash on the whole time, flash on all the oysters, and she's slurping them loud.
It's
like
pretty gross.
Super loud. Super loud. And then she's like, in her voiceover, she's like, what's next? And it's just so, oh my God, like what would possess somebody? I don't know. She genuinely, clearly did not give a shit about this man at all. She was there for herself and she was kind of like, well, I'm trying to go anyway. So if you want to go and like pay for it and be in my presence while I do this.
Everything about it, like, it just didn't seem, I'll be honest, like,
I think there are crazy people out there. I think it was legit.
So there's a few things that make, like, first I think the voiceover thing and then the lights on, like, I think there's crazy people in this world, but then there's also people who are seemingly having this kind of tone to their content. Like, I think it so easily could have just been like friends and she's recording it and then afterwards she's like, I'm going to make up this unhinged story.
It could have been, but number one, I think like at least, okay, Atlanta, like I feel like every crazy bitch lives in like Atlanta and like Brooklyn. Like that's just a known
funny,
fact.
But
like,
Buddy's under fire because he's made videos saying like, you know, the foods. I guess there's a scandal with like Keith Lee, a food reviewer in Atlanta, and I guess the service is really bad and like just people have bad manners in Atlanta and like.
Oh really?
Buddy used to work in restaurants and he's like getting a whole bunch of flack for people being like, well, it's like you don't understand Atlanta, but apparently Atlanta they have bad manners at restaurants.
I mean, relative to what, right? Like that if that's like the culture of Atlanta, it's kind of like that's just how it operates. Same with like going to New York where it's like people are mad rude. They're not going to be nice to you, but they will be kind to you. And like they will look out for you, but they are going to holler at you.
Yeah.
Same with Italy. Like it's just culturally different places.
True.
But Atlanta's fucking rowdy and like crazy. And I just definitely don't like, I feel like, especially now with internet culture and influencer culture, like people do shit like this
there's
after
a reward
COVID,
for it.
like,
There's a reward to be a
like
fucking
this.
psychopath.
Yes, totally. Or just blithely unaware. Like you're not, you know, like everything surrounds content. So like you're not really paying a whole lot of like mind to other people's feelings or their like human experience. It's like it's all about your experience and your content. And so in that way, it's like, yeah, it's definitely like in terrible taste to do something like that. But it also was just like, I mean, it was comedic gold. I can't lie.
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Like, and I don't think that is something the average person is going to encounter like on a you know regular basis. Like I think if this is something where it's like all the women are doing this, like all
the women are doing this, babe. No, I can't even. The thought of eating one oyster on a first date, I like cannot. I lose my mind. But then again, I'm also like deeply entrenched in like male validation, and I probably shouldn't be so worried about that kind of thing, you know. I'm just like being perceived eating, and it could look bad, and I just don't. Yeah.
Well, part of why I also think this is fake is because I love oysters, which is part of like why I could have a little bit of bias here because like I love oysters like a lot.
That's true.
I could not pull off eating 48 oysters. Like I have something I do right next to Target. There is like a place called Deckhand Oysters, and sometimes I'll stop in and I'll order a dozen oysters. I've tried to do a dozen and a half. 2 is too much. And then like a pint of beer, like in the big frozen thing, where it's like a big mug of beer. And I will do that. I've done that before. And I go and I sit at the bar and I just order a bunch of oysters and I slurp eat them and they're very good. And I'm very full.
You crazy.
4 dozen oysters is not. No.
Yeah. I don't like oysters, so it's not clicking for me. I don't get it. That shit is gross.
I love them.
Weird.
Yeah. But like, yeah, so that's part of why I don't think it's just the fact that she ordered 4 dozen. It's a like that's a party platter, which is like I'm like this bitch went to dinner with her friends and just decided to make
and then ordered more, and then she ordered more on top of that, didn't she?
Well, she wanted to, and then that's when he got up and left, and she said, "Oh, you're gonna leave out on the."
I thought she actually did order more.
I did see it. What looked like some potatoes and a drink, so it looked like there was more than oysters.
But regardless, it's like, is this something that women do?
No,
or would do? Have
like,
you ever
not at that scale? So no. So well, first because, like I said, my time is more valuable than anything. Like I've generally speaking always been able to afford and then some any sort of restaurant I've gone to on a date.
Absolutely.
Like an hour of time with someone I don't want to be with is like not worth. Like I make too much money to have to do that.
Period. Ooh.
I think there's one thing maybe on the back of my mind I've thought just to like I guess is. You know, maybe in a way that maybe wouldn't exist for men is like, you know, oh, you go for a date and things don't pan out, or you know, oh, what if things don't work out? There's sort of the thought in the back of your mind of like, oh, at least I got to try out a new place. And maybe it wouldn't be at like my expense the way it would for a guy's, so like they would see more of like a loss there. But I've never been like, I'm just in it for the food.
Right.
And I honestly think too, if a guy has offered a first date or early on that just feels a little too grand, I'm like, what is it you want from me? Like it just feels. I think I'm not that great. Like it's like there's a catch here. Like, what's the catch?
Yeah, you're gonna owe me at the end of this.
Yeah.
The higher the stakes, like, the more uncomfortable I am. I actually really admire women who are like, no, I know what I'm worth, and I will go on a very expensive date, and I'm not gonna kiss you, and I'm not gonna touch you, and you better not expect that of me. I think that's, like,
lay that
so
down
impressive.
and someone's on the same page as that, like, by all means, you know, if it works, I guess try, like, do that. But, like, I also think too, it's like, I don't want to fall in love with a restaurant, so I want the food out of the equation.
Sure. I will say, and this, I feel like this starts to get into that, like, call her daddy territory, where it's like, if he's not flying you out on a private jet, don't date him, you know. But I think that there are men who really, really want to flex their money. A lot of times they're older. And they, like, that's what they want to do. They want to take out a girl and her friend or whatever, you know. For them, it's all about, like, having a hot young woman at the table with them. And in a case like that, I'm like, well, if the conversation's fine and I get to go to, like, the proper hotel or whatever, see some cool shit, whatever.
Those people
Let's
exist.
go.
Yeah.
Let's
and,
go.
like,
If you can open the door for me, then, like, shit.
Yeah.
I want to go experience some stuff.
Yeah, sure. Like, those people I think definitely exist. Yeah. If we were to reel this down, though, to a more realistic situation that the average person might run into. Let's say you've agreed to a date. I guess, how did I phrase this? I put a little note. Sorry, I hate looking down at the notes. So what is the etiquette? We're reeling this down to a more average situation. What is the etiquette around dates for drinks that maybe take place at a restaurant, somewhere where food is also served? As in, are drink dates, if someone says, I'm going to take you out for drinks, is the expectation only drinks, or just due to the fact you're at a restaurant, is food on the table, pun intended? Like, can you sit down and order food if it wasn't discussed, like, oh, we're doing dinner?
I wouldn't until after, like, the first couple drinks or so, and, like, it has to be a mutual decision, I think. If it's like, damn, are you kind of hungry right now? Like,
exactly.
I'm kind of hungry right now. Yeah, then I think that's, like, totally permissible.
Totally.
But, like, up until now, and I'm really trying to change this about myself, up until now, going on a date, even just for drinks, like, even if he asks me, even if he picks me up and asks me and wants me to go, I still am going to pull my wallet out because I'm just like, oh no, there's just no, I can't. Well, I don't think highly of myself enough. I shouldn't.
That's funny. I talked about
I'm
that.
lucky to be here, not you, you know?
Yeah. And I talked about that with Owen when Owen was on here. We call it the purse pump fake move, because remember when we were little kids, and a friend would take us to the movies, the friend's mom would drive, and you know what mom would always do? She would say, here's $10. I want you to offer it to, you know, Kristen's mom. And she's probably not going to accept it. I want you to offer, because it's what good manners is.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's been instilled in my head. Like, like, and then you're so sweet, and you would get rewarded from this friend's mom. Like, you are so sweet. You are so polite. Hey, Charlotte has such good manners, and that is instilled in me. Like, granted, when I would do, and so it's something I would still do as when I was older. But like, granted, if someone said, like, it wasn't like a test in a sense that, like, if a guy accepted, I'd be like, oh, like, haha, that was just a test. No, you have to pay. I would still, like, you know, they accept you would be you'd be held to it. But in the back of my mind, I'd be like, oh, you know, he doesn't, it would affect my decision to want to, continue dating him or not.
That's so interesting that you say that, because I think that we are, like, raised with a certain, like, with a certain ideology around, like, money, you know, and, like, just the morals that you're instilled with as a child or whatever, like, we were always raised that way, to always offer first, you know, you, like, hold your own, you're not depending on anybody. But then I know a lot of kids back in that day, you know, like, who were our friends who never learned that, who didn't learn that as a child, and then grew up to, like, always be a little weird about money and kind of be like, you know, not offer, and you cover them, and they're kind of like, great, thanks, or they don't even acknowledge it, you know? Yeah.
It's so weird. Money is just a weird thing, and it brings out some
weird
emotions.
And it's taboo, and it's hard to talk about. I dated a guy who I sincerely think in his head he had, like, tricked himself into, like, believing that we were even Steven, but like, I was paying for everything, flights, food, hotel, Airbnb, like always. It was always me. And then I think he would like every so often get like dinner or drinks. And in his mind was like, oh yeah, we're 50-50 or whatever. And he was always a little weird about money, you know? So, and I think that's just something that you, like, if you're not raised understanding that, yeah.
It's weird. Yeah. Yeah. Like, yeah. And so, yeah, no, I totally agree. And like, yeah, I think that's where it kind of comes down to with like ordering at a restaurant like that, like just being like, oh yeah, I'm just going to order food. Like, I think if you didn't discuss food ahead of time, first, I think it's totally normal. Like there's so many places in Austin that make like good, like drink places that also have a great, you know, food options. And like it's normal to go to a place that's like a restaurant for drinks. But yeah, I think like to switch it up, you would have to be like, yo, I'm really hungry. Like, yeah, any chance you're hungry too? And like, I wouldn't do that until like you've kind of established you like the person, because like ordering food holds you to this person a little bit more.
Can I say something that I would do that's a little toxic? Probably.
Sure.
I would almost be like, oh man, you know what? I think I need to get out of here. I'm so hungry. Like I need to go feed myself, pretty much. And then bait him into being like, what? I'll pay for you. Like, let's get food right now. Because I don't want to be like, hey, I'm really hungry. Could you? I'm just gonna be like independent. Like I have to go feed myself, and I'm dying, so I'm gonna go.
I might. Like my version of that would be to make it a we thing, like, or just like offer, be like, yo, I'm so like, hey, like I hope this isn't too crazy. I'm like super hungry. This thing on the menu looks really good. How would you feel about splitting it, like my treat or something, especially if they were like doing something, like make it a we thing or an activity.
Okay, yeah.
And also it's like if I was hungry but didn't like the person, I wouldn't be like, oh, I want to spend some more time with them because I'm hungry. I'd like, I'll just order Uber Eats. Like I'll be ordering Uber Eats on the way home.
Totally.
But yeah. Yeah, I don't know. I think Oyster Girl's psyop. Whatever the word is. Let's take a listener email though.
Okay.
God, I need glasses.
Oh no.
Dagnabbit. Okay. We've got some fun ones. Today's episode's actually about labels and titles for the most part. Got 2 emails focused on that. So mailbag. Men wanting to date with no expectations. What does this mean? What expectations are they worried about? I've been on several dates with a guy like 36 male, I'm 31 female, and he's said a few times that he wants to date with no expectations. He's not against a relationship, but just wants to date and see what happens. I've seen the same statement on a lot of men's Hinge profiles and heard men say it on dates too. And note, these are not people just looking for casual sex. They definitely want actual dates based on my experience of them suggesting more romantic dates. To me, that's just normal dating and therefore is a redundant statement. I wouldn't expect to be in a commitment with somebody until we had been on a lot of dates, months in, and only if everything is going really well and you like each other. And serious would only be after like a year or more of dating, in my opinion, and only depending on how you feel. So I don't get why some men make a specific point of saying they want to date without expectations, because it seems obvious. I also don't want kids or to get married, so maybe it has something to do with that, or there's something about more serious approaches that other people take to dating that I'm missing the context of, because I'm not dating with any specific goal in mind other than finding someone I like. I feel stupid, but what are these expectations everyone's worried about? Is this man implying that they don't want to get married or something?
Ooh, interesting. Okay, so I have an argument for both the man's side and the woman's side.
Go.
I think that men or people, when they say that, like, I am looking to date without expectations, that's coming from like lived experience. That's coming from like trauma, probably. You know, like they started dating someone and then things got way too serious way too quickly, whether, you know, it was mutual or not. And it was like a really tough time to tear themselves from it and start over. So I think that a lot of times where it's like no expectations, or they just got out of like a really fucked up relationship and they're just like the expectation of like, we're going to get married and we're going to have kids and we're going to I understand where they're coming from. But also from the female perspective, I know that like, I got so many exes. I had an ex who was like, basically it was like when we reconnected, he was just like, yeah, like all the women here, they get so attached so quickly. They're so attached to me so fast. And I was like, okay, well, we'll see about that. And then like he would do this real bait and switch thing with me, and he would, you know, it was like we would have these conversations that were so deep and like so serious, and then he would switch it up and gaslight me and be like, I don't want what are you talking about? I was just asking how you were. And it's like, God damn it, dude. These women are not so attached so fast. It's probably that you led them on very seriously and they're just pissed that you wasted their time. It like, don't get it in your head that like, women want me so bad. Girls just want me so fucking bad and I just can't even hold them off. It's like, no, you wasted their time and now they're mad. And like, those are two very different things.
Right.
So...
I think it's, definitely coming from that kind of place, or, someone in their own shoes thinking like, oh my God, like, like we're all the star of our own movie kind of thing. I think like a few episodes back, we talked about that movie trope called like the unfired Chekhov's gun, which basically just means like in the movie, if somebody points something out and says like, oh, look at those deer antlers on the wall, it's for a reason and it's going to come back around. Like nobody says that in movies for no reason. It's foreshadowing, whatever. And if that doesn't happen, it's like the unfired Chekhov's gun. It's a huge like movie trope where it's like, why didn't the thing happen with the thing? I think that applies in dating a lot, where people don't just say things for no reason. Like if the redundant thing is said aloud, there's a reason for it.
Right.
And I think that, it's kind of said as like a cover your ass for later kind of thing. Like I'm just hoping to date without expectations. Because I think most people know how dating works. Like most people who are dating, who want a relationship, who say like, I'm dating, I hope to be in a relationship. Like they know that every date they go on, like every new person they go on a date with may not become their significant other. Like they know that is, a possibility. They know they're not boxed in. However, by going on that date and continuing to date that person as a person dating seriously, looking for a relationship, as long as they're doing that, they see it as in the realm of possibility.
Yeah, see, your explanations for things are so much more benevolent and so much more likely. Like, I feel like that's probably what
I also
it is.
like write these out and overthink about this shit because of
but it's so true. Yeah, it is a Chekhov's. It's basically like, hey, I'm just covering my bases before we get there.
So you can always point back to that conversation. Oh yeah, like what are we doing? What's this going to be? Well, I said I don't want to date without expectations. Like I put the Chekhov's gun was fired.
Yes.
But yeah, like, so I think like, but it's also, like most people know that as they're dating somebody, there is no, it's possible it might not become a relationship. It's possible it might, you're not boxed in. So this no expectations,
right? I
don't think it's about a relationship. Now, what I do think though, when it comes to the no expectations, I like wrote this down because it sounded eloquent and my brain is farting all over the place. So dating without expectations, what do I think it means? So first, when it comes, sorry, I'm like totally bouncing around. Like I said, when people go out of their way to point out the obvious, it's to set the stage for it to come back around later, not be the bad guy. And side note, when it comes to the people that are saying I want to date without expectations, like I think that people that do this don't have some sort of maniacal plan. They are not actively lying. I think they genuinely believe they could be in a relationship, but they are so terrified of expectations that the likelihood is so slim. So dating without expectations, what I think it means when it comes to these expectations, because you also have to consider like terms like serious are relative. Like to somebody who wants something casual, totally. Serious is like the idea that a relationship's in the realm of possibility. So expectations, dating without expectations, they do not want the expectation of possibility. They want the possibility for no possibility, aka casual. They don't want relationship as a goal in mind. They don't want the idea of a relationship like hanging over their head. Is what I think that means. They also don't want an expectation of progression. Like they want to be able to continue without thinking like each date is a step towards something. Like they like the idea they can go around in a circle, that like, they're not wasting someone's time, that they're not another weekend. Oh my God, you wasted 3 months of my life. Yeah. They want none of that.
Totally. Well, and I think also, this kind of seems like something I might use because we've talked about this. When you are like, dating someone for 3 months or whatever, people are on their best behavior for 3 months. Yeah. And then red flags start to show up. And it's like basically to be like, yeah, I mean, we've been having a good time, but like I can acknowledge before even meeting someone, before getting into anything, no matter how wonderful they seem, everybody has flaws and some of them may be more of a problem than others. So like when those idiosyncrasies come up, then like you have to be able to be like, okay, I knew that this might happen and I need to back out now.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that just feels like date, because that's where like regular dating comes in, because it's like, oh, you notice a flaw. Like I think like the ones where it's like no expectations, it's like oh yeah, like there were never anything flaws. This person didn't do anything wrong. Like I just didn't want to have to feel like boxed into them. You know, it's the person that wants the perks of a relationship without the responsibility. Like they want somebody shoulder to crown. They don't want to pick people up from the airport. So that's what they mean when they say they want to date without expectations. Like they like the idea. So the analogy I made, think about it. So dating versus dating without expectations, because in dating there is technically no expectation. You go on a first date with someone, it's not like this person's gonna be my boyfriend. We know that. But then there's dating without expectations. Sounds redundant, right? I think dating is like a free trial. Dating without expectations is a freemium. So if you think of a free trial, you sign up for a 7-day free trial, and you get the full perks, you get the full usage of a software, whatever it is. But at the end of that 7 days, you lose everything you've had if you don't agree to, buy the software. Damn. So if you're not like committed to maybe purchasing that software, you're not going to sign up for a free trial and like half-ass use it or use it for a day. You're going to be like, okay, like I want to get the most out of it, see if it makes sense to get the full suite of it. So you're going to take it seriously. Also, if you don't actively go to end the free trial, you just end up paying for it anyway.
That's what I was going to say.
That's a free trial. So you would take a free trial seriously. I'm in the middle of a free trial. I'm going to get the most out of it. And then I'm going to like seriously consider if I want to like buy this software. And you know there's like a time clock. There's things are progressing, all that. A freemium is like the free tool that a software might offer that you can use for free until the end of time. It has like only a few tools. Like if you think of like, doesn't Facetune have a version of that where you can only use like a few of them, where it's like, oh, whiten teeth, but you can't do all of
You can't do everything until
you can't do everything. But you can do that until the end of time. And yeah, you could at any point upgrade into like the fancy Facetune, but there's no time clock. There's no like, you have to do it within 30 days. They're not going to charge your card. You can use your freemium until the end of time. And sometimes the features that are offered in the freemium are good enough for you. Like sometimes the other stuff is too much anyway. You're fine with the freemium. So free trial versus freemium, I would say the analogy is.
Dang, that's so cool. God, we really are robots, aren't we?
We are all robots.
We're bots.
I know. Sorry to use a robot analogy.
Oh no.
But yeah, I also think too, romantic, like someone doing romantic dates does not mean that they want, it's a guarantee they want a relationship.
Right.
Like I've put casual on a spectrum before. There are some people whose version of casual involves going on nice dates and doing like a boyfriend-girlfriend experience for a night. Like feeling like they have a girlfriend for a night, taking a pretty girl to a nice restaurant. Like,
and just treating them real good. I love that shit.
Some people, yeah.
I love that shit. A first
and I
date
think that ages matter here a lot too. Like a 36-year-old guy, like their version of casual, like when they're making more money and like, they're not staying out until 4 a.m. going to clubs and parties. Like their version of casual, like will feel very cute and sweet usually, I would say. Like, yeah. So I think I think there's two things, like actions, like people always like, oh, look at this person's actions, not their words. I think you have to look at their actions and their words. Like, do their actions match their words? Like if you were to like say like, oh, whoa, that sounds like a really cool special thing to do. Oh, that sounds expensive. That sounds like a big deal. Yeah. Like, do they say like, yeah, it is? Or are they like, oh no, it's not a big deal to me at all? Like all these things are relative. Like some people, like they'll just like let anybody meet their family, like that kind of thing. Yeah. Interesting. I think I'm like that, I'm like, whatever, fuck it. Let's get married. Like right off the bat. Yeah, because I just feel like, I don't know, it's romantic. It's romantic to do that. I feel like trying to go into a first few couple dates and just really holding someone at arm's length is so unromantic and so unsexy. Waiting 3 months before you say I love you, boring, bitch. I'm saying that shit in like the first week. I love it.
Fuck it.
Yeah. No, I always feel like when people are too much like, oh my God, we have to slow it down. Like there's so much like, oh, I gotta take a
shut up. Shut up.
I think that's weird. Yeah. So I guess I would say that girl, the expectations he is worried about is expectations to be responsible for you. He does not want to be thought of as an asshole. He's covering his ass. Yeah. I don't think the kids thing plays into it at all, though I do think like they're, maybe the guys could be kind of like, oh, like there's less of the worry of like, because I think sometimes you get my biological clock is ticking thrown at you if you're a guy at that age, but like I don't think that's carrying as much weight. Okay, our next quick hit question before our next mailbag. When is the right time to stop using the app? So say you're dating somebody, because dating means actively going on dates. you're going on dates with somebody, maybe you met them on the dating apps, maybe you didn't, but you have an active profile because you're single. At what point into dating somebody do you delete your apps? Do you keep your apps until you have your define the relationship conversation, then you both delete it? Or is it some period of time before that?
That's a great question. I'm trying to think when I have deleted my... I would say a month is maximum. Or like I've like kept them on there and just left them dormant and I'm not using them. And that's actually bit me in the ass because you leave your phone on the table and then Hinge notifies you.
Shit, yeah.
That's gotten me a couple times. But also, I use that in a toxic way sometimes just to be like, and if you fuck up, guess what? Guess what? I got a queue behind you, so don't even think that I'm like desperately and I'm sure men do that too. But like, I would definitely say like 1 month into a relationship where you guys are talking every day and hanging out, like that's like absolute latest because it just at a certain point it gets so disrespectful to the person to basically for them to know that like, yeah, you're hanging out with me and spending a lot of, using a lot of my time, but you are still very consciously being like, yeah, but if something better comes along, I'm going to take that. Yeah.
Like, cause I think, like I think basically that like, because my personal opinion on that, like, and I was somebody like I was always a serial dater in the form of like I couldn't date 2 people at once. Like to me, the idea of like having a good date with somebody and then just going back on the apps and being like, oh yeah, what else is out there is like that would be a sign to me that I didn't have fun on the date. Like, and so if I were really enjoying my time with someone on top of that, like
you're not really interested in starting something up with someone else.
Yeah, like it's just like that just throws another person in the mix. Like, why do that? I know other people do things differently. But I was never like that. Though I'm trying to think, like, I think maybe like the app would stay on the phone. Like it wouldn't be like, because no one wants to be the person who has to like go and delete it and turn it back on. And like, because I almost feel like you're almost being like too conscious and organized with it. I was always really disorganized with dating apps. I never unmatched anybody. Like I just okay,
got it.
So like I think there's a lot of different versions of stop as well. Is it you just don't open the app anymore and it's just dormant on your phone because you forgot about it? Is it you actively go out of your way to delete it because you're like, oh, I met somebody? Is it you go and hit the pause button? It's kind of like what does stop even mean as well?
Definitely. I think there is something like actually like another level of disrespectful to it too, though. And maybe it is different for like men and women, but I feel like when you have met someone and you're hanging out with them, compared to somebody coming up on Hinge and you've never met this person before and you only have seen like a handful of their pictures and like their description, for you to even be entertaining that over someone that you have like met and spoken to and looked in the eyes and enjoy spending your time with. Like, I think we tend to forget like how separate those two things are. Like Hinge, like people coming up on there, it's just so, it's like nothing. It's like mindless swiping. These people like aren't even like real. They're like video game characters to me.
Well, to me, I was always like that too. Like,
right. But then it like if I've met someone before and talked to them and like I had a good time with them, even if I'm not super attracted to them, I'm 1,000 times more inclined to go on a date with them than somebody that shows up on Hinge.
Oh, 100%. Because I feel like for some reason to me, like I have always had zero emotional attachment to anybody that was like just a match on a date. Like even talking to them, like nobody was real until I met them in person.
Yeah, dude.
Like they're like no matter how good looking their picture was. Like, and then all of a sudden, if I met them in person and liked them, things would change. But I also think that's why I didn't really like dating apps and wasn't really like I never found a real relationship off one. Because like I think not having like a person, like I need to see like a person's mannerisms. I need to like hear their voice. Like I need to like meet them in a way that doesn't feel so robotic. Because I feel like dating app dates, like they just put you into this like first date, second date, third date, like robotic sense. It's like I need to meet somebody in kind of a messier way.
And like if you have any experience with dating apps, you know how common, how frequent it is to match with someone where you're like, wow, he is very conventionally attractive, seems to look good on paper. Like, you know, he enjoys the things that I enjoy. And then you meet up with them and they are fucking nuts.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like terrible to be around.
Yeah.
It's like, I spent all this time like talking to someone, investing time, you know, you're texting them, whatever. Yeah. Like you have invested some time in them and then you meet them and you're like, well, never mind.
Some people's dating app personalities, and it's not even like they like catfished or didn't look like
exactly.
It's just like the person they were.
Yes.
On their digital baseball card didn't match up. They looked exactly the same, but there's something was different. I don't know.
Something's different.
I need all five senses, I feel like.
Yeah.
That was a good quick hit question leading into our next mailbag.
Oh no.
It's related to dating apps and when do you delete them? Okay. Mailbag. Found out she's still on Hinge. I, 29 male, have been dating a woman, 23 female, for 5 months and just found out she's still on Hinge. The relationship began slow, but over the past 2 months, things accelerated and she's been spending several days a week at my place. We've both agreed to exclusivity and that we're not interested in casual. However, next week she's going on a trip with some friends to a city where one of my friends also happens to live. That's where things get complicated. Out of the blue, this friend messaged me with a screenshot of her Hinge dating app profile, indicating her location as the city she's visiting next week, where he lives. Naturally, I was taken aback and confronted her about it. Her explanation was that she hasn't deleted the app yet, but she assured me she doesn't actively use it. She mentioned she changed her location on the app to match the city they're going to next week because some of her single friends were interested in meeting guys there, and she thought it would be fun to help them look on the app. I'm at a loss here and don't know whether to believe her or not. I care for her and want to trust her, but this situation is making me doubt things. Any advice would be greatly appreciated.
Oh my God, dude. I feel for him because this bitch is lying to you.
Yeah.
She's lying to you, and that sucks. And that sucks, especially when you care for someone and you really want to believe them. She's lying to you.
Yeah, there is
100%.
There is no good reason for a partnered person to be on a dating app, and if there was like it would be an extreme exception to the rule. Like there's no good unless
in a new city too. That's what she might have deleted it and then re-downloaded it for this city, like which is what cheaters do on fucking business trips. Like
yeah, because I know it's also just like the thing where it's like, you know, there is a thing where it's like coupled people want to play with their single friend, like play, you know, games with their single friends' dating lives and, oh, let me see Tinder, let me play Tinder, let me swipe for you. But it's done in a way where you like, oh, hey, let me see your phone. Yeah. And like, yeah, sometimes they have a little fun with it, like, oh, what's this? Like, how do we do a swipe? Blah, blah, blah. But you do it on their phone. Right. Like, that's how, like one version is like wing woman, one version is being like sketchy. Yes. Yeah, she's not wing womaning. I feel like I've told this lie before. I feel like I've done this shit before. Where it's like you come up with any excuse to be like, oh my God, no, it's not me, silly. It's my friends. It's my friends and I'm just trying to help. How would that help them? How would that even, like, logically, how would you matching with a dude, like, it's not. I don't know, because like I never liked to even match in a new city even as a single person. Like I wasn't like, oh, like I'd rather go outside and meet a person than like twiddle my thumbs on an app. Like maybe there is some, like when people are single, like some people do like to like, you know, set something up where it's like, hey, my group of friends, like, are you gonna be out, like have something set up in that way, where it's just like everyone's just trying to cast a wide net. I don't think girls need to do that, but you know, everyone kind of thinks things work differently. One kind of devil's advocate I want to point out, because we're talking about labels and titles. He talks about we agreed to exclusivity. It doesn't say we... Oh, I missed that. Yeah, so we agreed to exclusivity and we both said we don't want anything casual. Oh. There is a difference, in my opinion, and that's where I think these stupid little, we're exclusive but not in a relationship, that's where these things cause problems. If you agreed to exclusivity, like, was this a define the relationship conversation where you say, we are boyfriend, girlfriend, partners, that kind of thing? Yeah. I think that's different because I think for whatever reason, people have really enjoyed adding this, like making this like a 2-step process of, you know, we're dating. They like to call it a talking stage, of course. Oh, we're talking and let's be exclusive. Let's agree to be exclusive. And then you're exclusively dating and then you have your define the relationship conversation. I think that is fucking stupid. Yeah, it's having your cake and eating it too. To be like, yeah, let's have the conversation where we're exclusive, but we're not officially in a relationship, so that like when it's convenient for you, you can be like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Because like people are gonna say, and people are gonna comment on this because they live in the extremes. Oh well, exclusive means exclusive. It's really straightforward, except for the fact that it isn't. When we add this like step, like everybody knows when you're in a relationship, you have a whole you start that off and you have a conversation of what is or isn't cheating. There's the implication of if you're looking for monogamy, like you're loyal, faithful to one another. That exclusivity is like significantly implied. If you just agree to exclusivity without this like relationship to it, I think there's a lot of gray area. For example, I think why I think people like this, like, oh, let's agree to exclusivity, but not relationship yet, is like there's a few more things that come with a committed relationship. I think a few of those things involve openly calling yourself in a relationship to people. Like you're using the titles, like people know you're like in a relationship. Usually so many times after people like enter a relationship, that's when photos start going up. Like you start publicly posting people. Like you do not appear single when you're in a relationship. I think when people are exclusive, they tend to still appear single. Like, so it's still easier to be like kind of pulled, in different directions.
Right.
I think there's also like the responsibility aspect. It's also like, yes, we are exclusively with one another, like seeing one another. There is nobody else right now at this minute, but the door is still open. Like maybe they're not actively pursuing people, but like the door is open in a way that it wouldn't be if you weren't in a committed relationship. Like,
you know what it says to me a little bit, and maybe this is just because of like who I am as a person, but exclusive is like, yes, it's we are together with each other only. I'm not sleeping with anybody else, but I don't have to tell you where I am all the time.
Yeah.
Which is what you kind of have to do with like a partner, you know? It's like, I don't have to tell you what I'm doing and where I am and what restaurant. And I, not that you have to do that, but like in a relationship, when you're with someone that you really love, you're telling them everything that you do.
Yeah, you just do.
You just do. But like, if you're not technically in a relationship, you don't have to do that. You can have long periods of silence and they can't really say anything about it.
You can live in the gray area. You can like go and stand in front of the line and like stick your tongue out and be like, look, I'm standing by the line, and just not cross it. Like, it's like fun and fun and games. Like, oh, haha, like I'm going to just help my friends. It's no big deal. Like, yeah, maybe I'll match with one and we'll all meet up with them. But like, I'm not going to, we're exclusive. But like somebody in a relationship wouldn't do that. Someone who has this little like exclusive thing where the only pillar you've agreed to that's is like the exclusivity piece. Like relationship comes with like that responsibility. Like you don't outwardly appear single anymore. Like I just think that could be part of it too. And like what does exclusivity mean? We all know what relationship means, but we've added this 2-step thing to it. Yeah. And like not to like victim blame this guy or anything, but that's just my social commentary on
Damn, that's so
labels.
True. Exclusive to relationship, there is like a weird
I also think
land in there.
I also think all of these exclusive but not in a relationship people never end up in actual relationships.
Yeah,
they've added this.
They're committed
extra
to living
space.
there.
Oh yeah, like they add this extra space because that too. Like because what happens so many times is like, oh, we'll be exclusive but not in a relationship, and then it's like when you come to that person, like, okay, now where's our relationship? It's like, oh, we just got to this exclusive but not in a relationship, and then what that person usually will point to is like, well, we're exclusive, so what else is the problem? What else is left? Labels and titles? Oh, you care about labels and titles? It's just a label and stuff. We are exclusive. It's like, but no, those labels do matter. Like outwardly saying that you are in a relationship matters. Like,
dude, it does.
When you appear single, like people like think you're single.
Exactly.
It's just like the difference. The door is open. It's like the door is open for like a better option to come along in a way that it wouldn't be if you had a picture with a significant other on your Instagram.
Totally. And I think a big difference is like when you are speaking to a member of the opposite sex or whatever your orientation is, but you're speaking to someone and you either do or do not mention your partner. If you're exclusive but not in a relationship, like you don't gotta mention, whatever. But like if you are in a relationship and you care about it, like they're gonna come up. Yeah, your partner's gonna come up. You're gonna mention them.
And if somebody asks, "Oh yeah, are you single?" You still saying yes.
You can say yes.
And exactly. So like these kinds of like I would tell this guy like that could be part of the deal. You've kind of put yourself in this no man's land. And I get that happens. Like, oh, I guess we are kind of exclusive, and I don't know how this conversation happened. Though I will say, like, if a friend from out of town recognized this girl, like he might have been posting her, like so. Maybe maybe he's just choosing words here, and if she's like in a relationship with you, like, yeah, it's shady. But I would tell this guy if they've done like exclusive, like you gotta be firm, like pick a side,
right?
Relationship or not,
yeah.
And then I would also say too, like I do think like 23-year-olds know better than to do this, but
they do
kind of do like I think this behavior would be like less likely from a woman who's like even just like 2 years older. Like I think 25 is like greatly different from like 22 and 23. And like,
why is that? Do you think it's because they've like been through relationships and experienced the other side of like why?
Yeah, like I think just more emotional intelligence too. It's like you know how to, you understand, like you care about a person's feelings more. Like, oh, like I've had someone break my heart before. It doesn't feel good.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to do that to a person.
Yeah.
So like there's just more emotional intelligence, like people looking out for others' feelings more. Like you know, like I'm not saying like, oh, you have to go and date all the older women, but like holy crap, like there's a light year of difference between 23 and 25.
Dude, I cannot date younger men ever again.
I could never date younger.
Stupid, bro. They don't have the emotional. I mean, shit. I dated someone who was younger and in the military, so almost no experience with women, and then you know, like to get into a relationship with someone like that, and then like they don't have the emotional intelligence. They don't have like treat others the way you want to be treated.
Yeah.
Type shit, which like I think comes very naturally with like socializing.
Yeah.
Normally.
Yeah. And it's like, it's just like being alive and walking this earth like gives you more experiences and it helps you relate to more people. And I think that counts for something. Now, obviously, like there's people like you kind of like that youthful nature, so you have to like toe the fine line. But
yeah.
I don't know. Yeah. I feel for this guy. Dump her. I don't like to throw out dump her a lot, but it's
not going to get better from here.
No, you can do better.
This shit will continue if she's being deceptive now, like, and you caught her, obviously. Yeah. She's just going to get sneakier. Like,
yeah, like
obviously.
Yeah, even like the scenario where it's like, oh, like if she's that aloof, like if it's really just like, oh my god, it's not malicious, she's too fucking stupid to date her. So
yeah.
Dump her
for sure.
Yeah, that was all of our emails today.
Dang, crazy.
Yeah. I could fuck with some oysters, I feel like.
Ew, bro. I
love
oysters so much. Disgusting.
Yeah.
I'm so stupid. I drank a beer as soon as I got in here because I was like, bottle up. Jacob handed them to us. Woo woo, okay. Thanks, but I'm actually like really trying to be pretty sober this month.
Woo! And, like, Sober November.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to stop smoking weed for a while.
Nice.
Just see if I can like have some mental clarity, do a little tolerance break. I don't drink a ton anyway, but I do drink every day. Almost every day. I'll have like one after work, you know?
Yeah.
We'll go and get a mezcal or whatever and like chat. And it is very productive. And I am not an alcoholic by any means, but I think it'll be nice to feel
just
to
clear.
go totally clear.
I love it.
A Scientology term?
I hope so.
To go not. Clear.
Fuck.
I'm going clear.
No.
But I think that just that will also just like help with self-esteem, self-worth, and going into dating like not making the same mistakes that I have in the past.
You got this. I think it's a healthy choice.
I had my first therapy session in like 1 hour.
Woo! I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm so excited too. Yeah, I had to like talk myself into it, and of course all the questionnaire is like, are you depressed? Are you anxious? Do you feel like hurting someone else or yourself? And da da da. And it's like, no, none of that. I'm confident in like every other aspect of my life, extremely confident in my work, in art. Like I'm a cocky bitch when it comes to that. But for some reason, when it comes to like dating and men, it's like my self-esteem just like drains into the floor.
Time to work on that.
Yeah. I've had people call me out on it too. Like my homegirls, you know, they're like, what the fuck is this? Like you're so confident otherwise, but then when it comes to this shit, like all of a sudden you can't state what you want. Like it's so hard for me to say to a man what I want, whether that's like,
and you have no problem saying that to anyone.
No. But if it's a man that I'm interested in, this is so fucking toxic, but I'm just so much more concerned about like,
will he like me?
And I don't really.
You gotta ask yourself, do I like him?
Dude, it's so true. And I'm just coming to this point where I'm like, bitch, you gotta get up and realize like what you have to offer compared to like what these dudes have to offer. And I feel like I go into everything on 10, on 100, like all my best personality traits, trying just doing the absolute most, looking as cute as I possibly can all the time. And like, I think I don't know. I just can't keep living like that.
Yeah.
You know?
Go in as yourself so they just know that right away.
Totally.
You don't have to pull off a mask later.
Totally. Well, and I don't know if, okay. Whatever. I'm going to talk about sex. Fuck it. I feel like because of that, it's hard to like look internally and be like, oh shit, it was me the whole time. It was me the whole time doing this shit to myself.
Yeah.
Because I want to blame other people for like treating me badly, but really it was like my self-esteem put me here. Mm-hmm. And I just feel like it could be a combination of like the way I present online and whatever, just or how I present in person. But like when I have gone on a few dates recently and like hung out with dudes, and then we end up like hanging out later and we're like making out or whatever. I think I just have such a hard time setting a boundary early on that like dudes think that I'm like a porn star. And I don't know if it's like this with all women. I feel like I've talked to a couple women that like kind of have a similar experience, but like I think it really is because like my boundaries are so hard to define, that like they'll just I spit in my mouth or whatever. And I'm like,
one thing I will say is like there's a lot of dudes, and I would say people in general, who operate on the assumed close. This is something we would do in sales where you talk to a person and they have not agreed to buy your software. They have not agreed to buy anything. But you talk to them as though they will. Like, so it's like, hey, why don't we go and like have a conversation? We're going to set up a meeting and we'll walk you through this software. And you just talk about, you keep talking in we terms, even though you are not a we, you have not signed any kind of papers. And you act as though they're going to say yes. And like, of course, it's a sales tactic that works with people. Like, why don't we do this versus saying, do you want to do this? Do we want to go to the next step? Do we want to go to the next step? And like giving them room to say no. It's always on them to like say like, wait a second. And people are uncomfortable doing that. It's so it's a sales tactic. And I don't know if
that they're using against me.
That people just use on people.
Okay,
like people who like want something. It's like,
yeah, they're like, oh yeah, we already agreed to this, even though we haven't.
Or it's like they operate as though they assume you're going to say yes. So the onus is on you to say, hey, no.
It's so oh my god, I was like, is it Austin men? Is it, what could it be? But it's just because I'm like,
well, it's
suckered into the sales pitch, I guess.
So it's people suckering in a sales pitch. And I do think like, because we have another friend whose name I won't say here, who had kind of this problem with but it was more so guys assuming she'd be down for some sort of hookup situation, not necessarily specific sexual acts. But she asked me like one time, she's like, is there something about me? Does something about me just scream hookup material?
Dude, yes, that's exactly,
And so like my thought to her is like, and she would get like, she would end up with people where I'm just like, how did you end up with this person?
Dude, it's so upsetting. It hurts so much.
But like what I thought with her, because she is like this outgoing, friendly, fun person, I don't think it was so much that as much as it was she's approachable. So it's not so much that people assume like, oh, she'll be down, but they know based on her personality that she's not going to make them feel like a terrible person or like some sort of like sexual deviant if she declines them. Like they know she's not going to be like, oh, how could you say that to me? Or like, ew, you think I would want that? Like they know whatever she says back to them,
mostly, and
she would be nice. Like she wouldn't make them feel bad because she seems like this nice, fun person.
Oh my God, that's me.
So like, that's what I think it's more of that where it's like, oh, like warm, inviting. Like I'm not saying like have a resting bitch face or like be meaner, but like meaner girls don't get asked for that stuff because like people are scared of like, oh, you know, if it could go either way. And like, obviously that works to people's disadvantage too.
Dude, that's totally what it is. I think that makes perfect sense. Like you have to be a bitch enough to like, basically like I would do like the courtesy laugh for a man if he made a joke that I didn't think was funny, you know, I would courtesy laugh just so that he doesn't feel uncomfortable, because then if I don't, I'm like, oh, I am making him uncomfortable by not laughing, rather than he's making me uncomfortable by making a bad joke.
Yeah.
You know?
I think like by default I would do like a it wasn't even a courtesy laugh, it was like more of an uncomfortable laugh. Like I don't know what else to do. I'm just gonna fill the silence.
Sure.
But like I think when I would, because like I'm somebody who would like be fun and outgo. Like I remember like I would have kind of the issue of just like as someone who likes concerts and like EDM, like I guess like sort of something that comes with that territory, like is, you know, a lot of those concerts take place in like clubs and stuff, or like, you know, there is sort of like this party-ish atmosphere, despite the fact that I'm like, you know, pretty serious when it comes to like relationship stuff. Like my fun interests are like put you in those environments. And like I remember like I think sometimes people, of course, like people make assumptions about everybody. That's the other thing too, is like all these things that are happening in your DMs are happening in other people's DMs too.
Yeah.
Like I just remember like when guys would kind of like push for those, I would just say like, you know, I love that for you. Like, oh, that's really like, I remember like that's so cute. Like, I love that for you. I hope you find it. And that's usually their hint of like, oh, that's so great. Or like, because I would get those where it's like, oh, you know, like, I'm just having fun doing life. And, you know, like, I just, you know, I'd love to spend some time with somebody. I've just got so much going on. And I would just say like, you know, that's great, Austin. I love that for you. One of them's name was Austin that tried to do that. I was like, I love that for you.
Yeah, start treating him like a little brother.
Well, just it's also just not a mean thing to say. I love that for you, and I do hope you find that somewhere else.
That's real.
It's not a mean thing to say. Like, that's real. I do hope Austin has found that. It's just not going to be here.
Just not here.
Exactly. So it's like those things. Like, I love that for you is a great statement. Like, oh, you know, like, thanks for sharing. Thanks for sharing. Like, don't agree with them. Like, something also that like actors have said to do, like, because like what happens if they like laugh along with something that's controversial on TV is they're like don't ever laugh along, just look surprised, because then people will think you're agreeing if you laugh. Like a look of like, oh, like surprise versus laughs. I don't know. Like that was a trick I heard.
Interesting. Very interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Damn. I feel so much like better about shit.
And your therapist is gonna make you feel even better.
And my therapist too. I know I haven't met her yet, but I'm excited for like this new era of clarity. And like,
I'm excited for it. I'm excited for you. I love that for you.
Thank you. I love that for you. Thank you so much.
Of course. All right, we're gonna sign out of this one.
Okay, wrap it up, bitch.
Thanks everybody.
Bye.